Oh, I have so many ideas. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get there. I'll process this just now.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another update of how my November writing challenge is going. Up until now, this November writing challenge has been going really well. I've been enjoying it and it's been very joyful. However, I am getting to the point where it's a little bit tricky to actually do everything. When I say everything, I mean my day job, being a parent, and then trying to fit writing in as well. I've been struggling a little bit to just stay on top of everything. And yesterday I just was having one of those days where I just I just felt so overloaded, and I was making dinner and I just said out loud, I'm feeling so emotional. I just said that, and my son came up to me and he's like, Mommy, are you angry? And I was like, no, my angel, I'm not angry. I'm just feeling so many feelings. Like I'm feeling happy and sad and just overwhelmed all at the same time. And like he was so confused. And I was like, I think this is my hormones though. And then both of my boys were so like curious. What are hormones? They asked. So I explained to them the difference between estrogen and testosterone. So I said to them that testosterone is when they make all of their fart jokes and their poo jokes and their typical boy jokes, or when they just feel super macho and they feel like they need to tackle each other the whole time. I was explaining how that is their testosterone. And then I said, estrogen looks like when mommy is feeling very loving and gentle and says, come here, my sweetie pie. And I give them hugs and kisses. And then they were confused though, because why, if I'm feeling so loving and kind, am I also feeling so many other feelings? So then I drew them a graph, which I will show to you now. And I just explained to them how my mood typically changes throughout the month. And I just said, this is what it's like being a woman and how we have to manage our hormones. And then I said, this is what it's like being a boy in a month. And then I showed them this picture. And oh my goodness, did they just think this was the most hilarious thing ever. So yeah, I didn't think I'd be teaching my 3 and 4-year-old about estrogen and testosterone, but the lesson went surprisingly well. And they thought it was just so funny. But another thing that they have found really funny lately is the concept of 6-7. So my kids haven't seen a screen yet, or they have not engaged with social media at all, but they are at a daycare. And so the other day we're just driving in the car and my youngest says to me, hey, mommy, guess what? And I was like, what? And he says, 6-7. And I just burst out laughing. And I was like, how do you know about 6-7? And he's like, no, the big kids at school say it. And then at dinner last night as well, he's like, mommy. And I was like, yes, my angel. And he goes, 6-7. Yes, yeah. And I just think this is so funny. And he thinks that me thinking it is so funny is even more funny than just the words. I don't think he even knows what it means. In my day job, I posted to everybody that I interact with, and people are so confused about the concept of 6-7. However, I found articles and I'm just going to share Forbes and what Forbes has to say about 6-7. So if you're also confused, it's okay. Anyway, it's been fun to reflect on parenting because this has been a big theme in the book that I'm writing for my November writing challenge. So I am getting chills at the reality that I am 3 weeks into this challenge, and I sent my writing coach the first 6,800 words, and yeah, working with her has just been so much fun in keeping the energy quite high in this journey. That said, this is a first draft, so it is pretty toilet, but it's been nice having somebody give me some insights on something as specific as focusing on my chapter headings.
330 days until my life explodes. I thought about that one about being a little bit more specific, because think about this as the literally first sentence that the reader is going to get about your story.
And she's right. Hooking a reader from the start is an obvious thing to focus on. But more so than only focusing on specificity and chapter headings, she also encouraged me to focus on being more specific in the text as well.
Because I was like, what car? You know, those are the little details where we can go specific, and we can also show things that then we don't need to explain. Because, for example, the car model would tell me, the like social status, like do they have money, like how much money do they have? Like are they really well off and do they have like a really nice house? Maybe they are really well off, but they're pretty practical people. And I feel like what type of car they got, especially like you have
Uh,
kids. So then it's like, well, you have a kids friendly car probably. And the other one is giving a detail, like my husband's like blah 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 a spark with a little like family sticker in the bumper, like greeting me as I arrive at the house, or like the scratch from when the kids like smash the bike against the car, like those little things that make it,
yes,
more real. Like from last
I
weekend, like,
love that.
yeah, like those things make it very like real.
I have such
Um,
a good idea. And you've probably guessed it at this point, but we focused on specificity as it relates to character too.
and usually you try to characterize them with just like one specific quality that will pull people in. So showing your before for your character is something that maybe we don't have as much of in this beginning, and it could be really cool to see. And it's like her being in that like working mode, like power woman, like smashing through work, and maybe like having a little bit of that, and then the email hitting her like, oh, well,
Now, the single point on characterization inspired me to rework the entire start of my book. But from here, she highlighted something that I was doing, which proved to me that I was making the ultimate rookie mistake.
you do this a lot where you're like, oh, and I felt this, and then you show me how she felt. You know how we always say that, oh, show don't tell. And for example, like, oh, she was angry. What does angry look like for that person? Because it's not the same to be
Yes.
like Hulk angry and be smashing things around. There's a lot of like different ways to feel one feeling. So that's why
Emotion.
we usually say, yeah, one emotion. So that's why we say, okay, show it to me. So for example, in this one, they're in the grocery store and she says, I can feel the glow from picking them up, like wearing off, and you're coming from, oh, like a smile, this kid's like, oh, happy. And then it's like, mom, can we get into a pet store? Like, no, don't do that. Like, please, mom, come on. And like, then you're showing me that drama. So it's
Yes.
like, yeah, it's kind of like you're spoiling what's going to happen
By
next.
saying I feel
And
the glow from pickup. So maybe because that should come after.
yeah,
Okay, yes, I
exactly.
can get that. From here, Sabrina highlighted certain words that are often pointless in a book.
When I revise my files, I usually like, how you can search for like specific words. For example, one of the words I always look for is like start, begin, have, this, because those are the words that usually then you can get rid of, and it just flows better.
Sometimes when you're writing, something is very obvious to you, like a checklist, for example, but the way you might write it, in the sense of how you put it on the page, might be quite confusing to a reader, as it was in my case.
It's
Yeah, I
like
like
I'm
that.
running through my checklist and it's like, okay, make it sound like a checklist, like the things that you need to do rather than already done. Like I'll browse the aisles. No, browse the aisles. Get ideas for what to
I
cook for
like
dinner.
this.
Uh,
Nice.
Make sure the kids
Okay,
are
cool.
involved, and I think it'll be more funny that way. And you can make it like an actual checklist with the little boxes, and like some of them could already be
Yes.
checked. Like getting the kids surprise party snacks is already done. And then the next one is okay, browse the aisles, get ideas for dinner.
I then had a question that I wondered if other writers perhaps were asking as well. What is funnier? So my son, he has this rabbit, but the rabbit's called
Yeah.
Table, but he wants a dog and he wants to call it Ray Gun. I thought Ray Gun's funny because of like the Olympic thing that's still like fresh, so it's sort of funny.
Yeah.
But also, I think Table is also hilarious because if like the kid is calling for table and the manager's like, the kid wants a table, like
Yeah, it's like what?
what? But
Um,
but maybe Reagan makes more sense. I don't know. I was curious which one you
the
think.
thing with that is Reagan makes sense now,
No,
but
yeah,
it's like, how long is that going to be relevant for? Would he pull you out of the story and you'll have
yeah.
to go and look who it is? Or, yeah, in this case, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I think going with something like table or something that's less
I'm happy with
general could
Table.
work.
I think Table's
Yeah.
super cute. It'll be like a little nod to my son then. So I found myself in a bit of a logistical pickle because I got to a point that I wasn't sure whether my character would or wouldn't do something. I'm not quite sure how to take it because I'm like, well, did he try call her? Did she not answer? What do you think?
I think I will go with like the motivations that we talked about before, because I know you said something like for her it's all kind of like, making him look like like
Yes.
an ideal that she makes of him. And you said something that I don't know if you changed your mind, but you had said that for him it was just like he's just playing along. And yeah, I don't know how much that will work.
If
Wait,
he
can I hear
calls
you?
her, because then
Yeah,
it
because I
shows proactiveness. Good.
yeah,
Oh,
like
that was
what
so good.
exactly?
Okay.
Because what I think is
Yes.
that like you need to pinpoint
Yeah.
what his personality is and what he's like to be able to go that way.
Now, something that has just been a complete delight for me when it comes to working with Sabrina has been that we have formed some form of a tag team when it comes to building on each other's ideas. So, an example of this in this book specifically is I have come with a lot of maybe my experiences, but also sometimes not my experiences, something that I've just observed. And when I observe something and I am not directly connected to it, sometimes that falls a little bit flat in my writing. But what's so cool about bringing somebody else into this is that we can build on this together. So if you ever do read my book one day and you're thinking, is this all this girl's experience? This is a good example of how working with somebody can create something that may feel personal, but is quite detached from the author who wrote it.
When they were in school, like he was really like infatuated with her best friend. So when he sees her, what he sees is like the best friend, and he approached her because something like that, something like, like, oh, I wonder if he like still in touch with her. I don't know, like it could be something. Maybe he wanted something
Yes,
else. But then
yes.
because she starts leading him on, he's like, oh well, fine. But we could add like just a name drop, like maybe he asked like, oh, like yeah, great. Like, are you still friends with anybody? Like, are you still in touch with anybody from school? Like, and she'll
Yeah.
be like, yeah, no, not really. Oh, but what about like,
Uh,
Sabrina? She was your best friend. Like, oh no, we grew apart. Oh, bummer. Okay. And it sounds super innocent and like small
Yes.
chat,
Uh,
but it's something that like it could be revealed or not. It could be something that you just know and is funny.
okay. No, but that's
Um,
that's good because it ties into the other question I had. She recalls something Greg did at school, thinks she knows him, only sees him as great. So I think we actually need to build on the story because I think she needs to tell Fendi, like, there was always this girl, Clarissa, and
Yeah, maybe he
like
was really nice to her, like, and he was the best friend. Like he was really nice to both of us. Like, she was always like getting us like chocolates. And like, maybe he was like obviously trying to pick on her like best friend, but maybe she didn't really like fully realize, or maybe she did, but it was that for them, it was just like a really nice guy. And he was amazing, but maybe it's that maybe she knows that, oh well, but my friend liked him, so I always stayed away. But well, now
okay.
we're gonna part, my friend is married as well. I don't know.
Yes,
Could be either
but
way.
then that makes it tricky for the middle part because like he's still entertaining her, but he's like he needs to be, you know, it can't be too obvious to the reader. Like I think they also
Yeah.
because I don't want her to seem stupid. I need to figure this dance out. Let me play with it. We'll get
Yeah.
this one out.
Yeah,
But I
yeah, I think
really
it's
like.
something that we can play with and see how we can make it work. Because either, like, it could be quite funny if, like, he knows she liked this girl, so maybe he knows what she liked about her. Like, maybe her friend was, like, really bold when they were in school, and she was the opposite. Just she's gonna, "Oh, I'm gonna say something really bold to him and see what happens." I don't know, like, or the opposite. Like, I was always very, like, extravagant and bold, and my friend was quite shy, and he liked her, so maybe I'm gonna, like, play cool, like, with him and try to, I don't know, something like that.
Okay, no
I don't
problem.
know. We could
So I
play
think
with it and
maybe
see
her
what
friend
happens.
was super like bold and confident and stuff, and she's almost like turned into her friend, and she was always
Yeah.
like the quiet one, and he always spoke to her when like, but he's an accountant. Maybe they both connected over how quiet they were, maybe.
Well,
Um,
but it could be maybe like the same thing. You know how we tend to project on other people. So if he's an accountant and he's quite like a chill guy, maybe he liked this girl because she was quite like bold and daring, and it's kind of those
yes,
thing of like, oh, I wish I could be like that. And when they were younger, she was quite shy, but then she grew into this like mom
yes.
boss lady, and now she's like all in her power, and she's like he feels attracted to that kind of thing when he sees that she's like, "Oh, I got this job and I'm doing all this and blah blah blah." And yeah, and you could play with something like that, even like, I don't know. Like, do they go out on any, like, do they end up seeing each other again, or how does that work? Is it all
Yes.
like, do they go on like a
Yes.
date or something?
Honestly, to have that level of abundance from a collaborator has really changed this whole experience for me. I mean, Sabrina is so solutions orientated, which I love. And she even helped me come up with solutions to problems that I wasn't even aware that I had. I'm going to leave it here for today, but in the next video, I'll share more with you. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride. Bye.